Should you buy a brand new Ford Maverick, order a 2024, or maybe you should wait for a 2025 Ford Maverick because of a very likely powertrain addition coming along the way, or should you buy used? So we're going to be answering questions we've been getting from the community in the live. So if you're not watching this live, if you want to see the whole show, you can watch it as a live episode or this mini episode. So here's the big criteria whether you should buy or order. The big thing is, first of all, ask yourself the question, can you wait for one of these Mavericks? And of course, dealer allocation and dealer treatment, how they will treat you, are the most important criteria. So many people get fooled. So many people believe that it all comes down to whether Ford is a good or a bad company, and that is the deciding factor, they believe, to whether they will get a Ford Maverick in a relatively quick or long period of time, and whether they will pay a fair or very unfair price. Well, really, folks, that has nothing to do with Ford. It's almost entirely to do with, guess what? The dealer. And who picks the dealer? You all pick the dealer. Marie picks the dealer. We decide where we spend our money, and we can help not only influence and shape politics, even though more and more a lot of the political decisions are not made at the countrywide level. They're made by people that we have not elected that, hope that we will be very happy and tell us we'll be very happy renting everything. So guess what? Vehicles are getting more and more expensive and unattainable. We'll talk about that later on in this live. But for this episode, we're just talking about, important stuff to note and help you decide whether you buy used, buy a new available inventory Ford Maverick, or you order. Now let's go with the easy one. It's very highly unlikely you're going to find a Maverick at a dealer as inventory selling for MSRP. So that's, suggested manufacturer retail price, the manufacturer suggested retail price, MSRP. You're very unlikely to find one at MSRP. And if you do find it at MSRP, well, expect somewhere there's going to be either some crazy dealer fees, some forced accessories that are being sold for way too much. And this isn't a Ford issue. This is just some dealers. Toyota is having a huge problem right now because they've got two corporations pretty much owning all the dealerships across many, many states. So you can be in a situation where no matter what direction you drive in for 8 to 10 hours, you're always going to fall on one of these two corporations. And you're always going to be paying on certain models anywhere from, $2,000 of, really it's markup, but they say it's not markup because it's for added services or accessories. But at the end of the day, you're paying about 6 times more than the actual cost of those products. So it's a markup. And some models like the Sequoia, it can be $7,000 and you just have to deal with it. Well, you don't have to deal with it. Vote with your dollars. Do not buy. It's a pretty easy one here. Don't buy a Maverick that's being sold over MSRP unless you're truly in a hurry to get a vehicle. And no matter what vehicle you're going to buy, you're going to pay, you're going to be buying it right now. Well, if your only choice is to buy a vehicle now, you're on a timeline, then a reasonable $3,000-$4,000 more for this vehicle isn't bad, because these are vehicles with 20,000, 30,000 kilometers. Heck, just today, an individual was telling me, hey, look, I'm shopping. There's one that's, 3 hours away. It's got 55,000 kilometers. So about 32,000, 33,000 miles. It's 1 year old. And then when he told me the price, I was like, that's $5,000 more than a 23. I was like, but I'm going to be honest with you. Some dealers will try to sell you and show you the price of a 2023 Maverick just because they want to pick up $1,000 or $2,000 deposit off of you, and they don't want to tell you what the 2024 pricing is. They'll tell you that maybe later. If they don't actually deal with it later, then you're not getting a Maverick, or unlikely to get a Maverick. And this is when we're going to talk about ordering in just a moment, and some things you need to know about ordering and how picking your dealer is so unbelievably important. So let's say So basically what I'm saying here is if you find one of these hot pockets here, bad boys, for $3,000 over MSRP and it's available now and you need to buy now, that's not that bad. When you consider that, 10,000 miles on these, you can see them for sale for 10. So if you pay an extra 3 or 4, you could probably resell it and get 10. So 10 more than original pricing, meaning you'd still make $5,000 to $7,000. So if you're in a situation where you can actually make money on a vehicle, I don't think you paid the wrong price for it, even if it is over MSRP. But if you're patient, I highly recommend you shop your dealer and order one of these signed, that the dealer signs that they promise to sell it to you at MSRP. You need to have a purchase offer or a lease offer signed by the dealer. They'll get you to sign it because they want your commitment. They'll take your $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000 deposit because they want to force you to take it. They ideally would like to get $3,000 of deposit off of you so that when it shows up, they can, even if it's your order, if you didn't get their signature, it's very easy for them to just go, well, you're going to pay an extra $3,000. Oh, you don't want to pay an extra $3,000 and you won't take the vehicle? Okay, have a nice day. They want to keep your $3,000. So what do? You go, well, I don't want to lose my $3,000. Well, I better just buy the vehicle I ordered and pay an extra $3,000 for it because no matter what, if I don't take the vehicle, I'm going to lose that $3,000. And then they're happy if you don't because they get your $3,000. And they're going to then ask, anywhere from $3,000 to an extra $10,000 for one of these because a 1-year-old Maverick can sell for an extra $10,000. So that if you currently have a 2023 Maverick, you can probably sell it for an extra, $7,000 to $10,000 more than the window sticker rather easily. So is this Ford's fault? Is it Toyota's fault? Is it GM, Chevy, Dodge, Jeep? There's some Jeeps with $15,000 added on to the price when the manufacturer is currently offering $8,000 in manufacturer rebate, but the dealers, some, are not only not giving you the $8,000 because they're keeping it in their pocket, but they're adding an extra $10,000 or $15,000 to the price. Heck, at one point, I saw a Mercedes in the United States that's $49,000 window sticker, meaning manufacturer suggested retail price, and the dealer had added on an extra $100,000. This is a dealer issue. That means that business does not care about its community. That has nothing to do with any of the actual manufacturers because manufacturers don't like this. They don't get any extra money for it because a manufacturer sells inventory like we see here. They sell this inventory to the dealer. They kind of wholesale it to the dealers. And then the dealer often won't pay cash. They'll put it on a 7 or 8% of interest line of credit and will pay interest on these vehicles, which actually cuts into their revenue. So when, let's say, they sell this vehicle for $1,500, $1,400 of dealer, people call it dealer profit. No, it's dealer revenue. They have to pay for the building. They have to pay for electricity. They often have to pay for a mortgage. And at the end of the day, they have to pay for, guess what? Interest. So what does Ford do? I think Ford is an incredible company for adjusting very quickly to the times. Just like they adjusted to the times by lowering the price of the Ford Lightning because they started to see that they're starting to build up. So they dropped the price and then they got a whole bunch sold. So they adjust to the times. So what did they do? There's so many videos on YouTube that drive me crazy because they go, they're claiming that Ford is corrupt, that Ford doesn't care about their customers, that, they have titles like Ford's going bankrupt, and their whole point of the video is to say that Ford should go bankrupt because it's horrible what Ford is doing. But they're just being ignoramuses. They're being very, very ignorant and not doing any research on their topic. Basically, Ford has the system called turn and earn. So the faster you turn this vehicle, that means the metal leaves your dealer. Ford already made their money. They sold these vehicles to the dealership. They could just wash their hands and say, we don't care. They made their money. They sold the vehicles to the dealerships. But the turn and earn program means the faster that this leaves a dealer's inventory, the more vehicles that dealer is going to get. And of course, the more that they sell, the faster they sell, the more that they sell, it's a snowball going down the hill. The snowball starts as a little snowball, so a little dealership can be a little dealership. And as that snowball, you sell vehicles really quickly, you get more vehicles. You sell those quickly, you get more vehicles. Well, you end up with a big old boulder that will run over Indiana Jones. But here, it's not running over the good guy. This is for the good guy. So basically, to give you a good idea, so important if you're going to order. Major tip of this video, if you're going to order a Ford Maverick, like I said, get your lease offer or purchase offer signed by the dealer. Get your build sheet that they have you sign, get them to sign it as well, because there's a price there too, and have them write by hand. We will sell at the internet, Ford's internet price /MSRP. Because the dealer is the problem. Some dealers are fantastic. Some dealers are not. All through the last years, these vehicles were very fairly sold. So all the Broncos on the lot right now are all for MSRP. So basically how it works is, let's say a dealer starts to ask more for these vehicles. Vote with your money. Don't buy them. They sit there. The dealer's not turning those vehicles, so they're not earning new ones. For example, the Super Duties in the back, when they sit on a dealer for too long, one of these sitting here is preventing often two more from showing up. So if one sits and is unsold, and Ford knows Super Duties shouldn't really be sitting because they're rare items. So when they figure if they're sitting, it's because the dealer wants too much money for them. So what do? They go, well, you can sit on that and keep it. We would have sent you two more to replace it, but instead you're not getting two more. It's going to prevent you. It's blocking vehicles. So basically how it goes, the dealer has a choice. And it's a smart choice. Ford can't just not send vehicles to an entire region. So let's say Ford Mavericks. A dealer would normally, let's say, get 30. Well, if they follow the rules, they sell them at the right price and they sell them quickly, Ford would be like, well, you were getting 30 in the past. Well, now we're going to send you more. But if you don't sell them, Ford knows something's wrong. You're increasing your price. So what happens when you don't sell them? Ford, instead of sending you 30 in the future, for a period of time, will send you, let's say, 10. Why do they still send 10? It's not because they want to reward a dealer doing things wrong. It's because they can't have an entire region not have any Ford Mavericks, because then people get the impression of, guess what? We see it in the YouTube videos that make 1 million views with titles like, Ford doesn't want to sell Mavericks. They don't care about their buyers. They just want to sell extremely expensive, high trim, F-150s. We've seen those videos on YouTube, right, folks? That's not the case. Ford will still send, let's say, 10 units instead of 30 units to that region so that people don't get the impression, well, Ford doesn't want to sell Mavericks. But then a dealer has a decision, get 30 and make $1,200 a unit, so roughly, $35,000 of not profit, but revenue, because you have to pay interest on these, and electricity and, the services. Or take the 10 and add an extra 10,000 to all of them. Well, then you're making 100 grand. Well, some dealers just are all about money and not about the customer, not about treating people like you're just part of an auto enthusiast community, that you're also part of a local community. Well, some dealers don't care about the local community and just say, forget about people. 100,000 in revenue is better than 35,000 in revenue. So we'll take our 10,000 and screw it. Well, Ford isn't just going to give 0 Mavericks to that dealer, because then there'd be regions with just 0 Mavericks, and it would look like Ford doesn't want to provide them. But Ford definitely is hard on those dealers. They're going through their books. They're, chewing them out And they're not constantly being like, do you want, look, you could have more Mavericks. Follow the rules. So Ford works hard. Ford has people visiting the dealers, calling and emailing the dealers to try to get them to follow the rules. So, some dealers can, in a way, kind of doom the manufacturer, and other dealers can provide a really great experience. But this is why, for now, a couple of years, I've been saying that I think the best buying experience is somewhat like Tesla, but then good luck. If Tesla can't do all the recalls they need to do, because what's going to happen? You have one Tesla center for huge regions. They can't have all the Teslas coming back to being worked on. They don't have the structure to be able to do proper recalls. These are great recall centers. Ford has the structure to do recalls and make sure these vehicles are running right for you. That's why I'm a huge fan of Ford, because I think they're very much going towards the model we're already seeing on electric vehicles. And from day one, when Ford said they were going fixed pricing on electric vehicles, I said, wait for it. If this goes with a bang, a success, it's going to go over to the gasoline vehicles. And I think gasoline vehicles as well need to be at fixed pricing. So dealers, the competition is about how amazing of an experience they give for you. So if they give you a poor experience, you'll go to another dealer. But if people as buyers get a good experience, a good service when we go to a dealer, well, then we'll buy with them. So dealers need to compete in regards to quality of service, not, I got the customer because I gave, floor mats, $200-$300 worth of stuff. And, just like the individual for the Maverick that I met today, he was also offered $3,000 more for his trade, but he sold vehicles for 29 years. And he actually told the salesman, what do you think I am? Stupid? I know you're selling me the new vehicle for more. And that's the thing. That's what happens when you can play around with numbers. It can get a little sickening, and there can be a lot of deception. So folks, my big advice is order up one of these. And I'd also say order up, if you want a hybrid, order up a 2024 Ford Maverick hybrid front wheel drive, even if you want the all-wheel drive. Because I highly suspect, just like how we have a new powertrain for the Ford Ranger being the 2.7 liter, guess what? Is the Ford Ranger 2.7 liter twin turbo engine amazing? Yes. Is it available right at the new vehicle launch? No. It's going to be a late arrival, probably summer, very much more likely fall of 2024. So you've got time. And then there's going to be a huge waiting list, right? There's going to be a lot of people wanting an all-wheel drive 2025 hybrid Maverick. But I'd say order up a front wheel drive in case you get pushed over. You can be first in line for a 2025 all-wheel drive, and you should be able to switch to that powertrain and keep your priority, keep your place in line. So you can still be one of the first people in line for a 2025 all-wheel drive hybrid Maverick. But those spots are going to go probably to people converting from 2024. Don't expect any price protection in any way whatsoever, but do expect to be one of the first on the list. And if you do get your hybrid Maverick built, order up then an all-wheel drive. And guess what? I don't think you're going to lose any money, and will probably make money selling your front-wheel drive hybrid Maverick when one day your all-wheel drive Maverick hybrid comes in. So that's my advice for you folks. Would I buy used? I'd buy used if I can get it at a reasonable price. So with, let's say 55,000 miles, I'd want to buy that for a considerable amount below MSRP. If I find a Maverick with 5,000, 10,000 miles at MSRP, I'd consider that a deal, because most of them are selling with that kind of mileage for 5 or 10 more. And normally I would say don't ever buy a vehicle over MSRP, especially not a used vehicle. But supply and demand is going to continue to dictate the price of this vehicle. And as long as there are not very many available, they're still going to be worth a whole lot more. But of course, the best option is to be patient and order one. And if you can't and you need a vehicle right now, well, I'd rather buy a vehicle that is, I think a lot of people are saying, worth more than what's on the window than buying a vehicle that people just don't want to touch really with a 10-foot pole. So, we go over to days of inventory and we see Fiat has a lot of days in inventory. Fiat has very huge sales decrease from 22 to 2023. But also Fiat isn't very, I would not trust that vehicle to get me to the hospital when I needed to. It's not notoriously reliable. They depreciate a ton. So I'd say the real question of, is a vehicle a good deal? It's all about how the vehicle depreciates and how reliable it will be. And so far, these vehicles don't depreciate, they appreciate, and they're reliable. So I don't mind the idea of spending, if it's a year old and it's got, 5 or 10,000 miles on it, paying MSRP for one of these or slightly above, but saving yourself, miracle case, you might get a hybrid. This isn't a hybrid, so I should switch the photo. That's your job to remind me. But getting a hybrid, if you're lucky, maybe a miracle happens and you get one in 6 months, like some people have. But a lot of people are going to wait 1 to 2 years for this model. I'd say the average wait time, probably because we've got some 22 month waiters. We've got some people at 6 months. So let's say the average is 14 months. Well, if you can't wait the 14 months, maybe pay a little bit more. But do keep in mind, you need to order from a dealer that knows what they're doing, because you could be a 2022 order, and if it was never confirmed, the dealer, you might never get your Maverick unless the dealer did 0 confirmed orders. If the dealer does 0 confirmed orders, well, let's say instead of getting 30 for the year, like I mentioned earlier with how Ford distributes vehicles, they'll still want some going to a region while the dealer might get 10. So it might take a very long time to get it, but the trick is to make sure that the dealer has confirmed your order. So ask for a proof of enrollment. Proof of enrollment, they can send you a picture. It'll have an enrollment code. Then you really know your order was enrolled with Ford. And actually, Ford did that whole system because they require the dealer to sign and the client to sign. So they're in a position to have set everything up so that you have a legal piece of paper saying, I'm getting this at the right price. However, tricky dealers will just have you sign it and they won't sign it in front of you. They'll take it out back, and before sending it, putting in the machine and sending it off to Ford, then they'll sign it without you knowing about that. So they don't give you a proof. And that's why I'm here telling you so I can save you thousands of dollars. And as a favor, what do people do when they want to thank us? They hit
the like button.
Yes, and subscribe, and don't forget the bell notifications so you don't miss out on tips and tricks to save thousands. But ask for them to sign it, because they've got to sign it anyways, so don't let them BS you. So I'm here to BS bust. Make sure they sign that sheet and you get your copy, and hold tight onto that, because if you lose it, they'll probably be really happy that you lost it. They might even try and assume you lost it and then backtrack and be like, oh, okay, oh, you've got that sheet? Oh, sorry, we made a mistake here. So keep that sheet on you, and just as soon as you get in, when your order comes in, be like, hey, my order's come in, great, this is my price, right? Unless you've switched over years. If you've switched over years, well, then you should be expecting to get the new MSRP from the first price available at the beginning, model year beginning of that. And they should have called you back into the dealership or sent you emails so that you reconfirm your order. You re-sign for it.
The WB is asking, are they still taking orders on the Maverick? If so, why?
In Canada, they are, because we haven't completed our year's allotments. The year isn't sold out yet. And in the States, I'd say let's watch Tim Bart's show tomorrow night and ask him what's going on in the States. But last I knew, it wasn't sold out. And why is it not sold out? Well, some of that has to do with a topic coming up, which is record cancellations. So the WB, I'm going to answer why these Mavericks haven't sold again in that, but to put it really simply, to not go into detail because we're wrapping up this episode, but at first a whole lot more people ordered Mavericks because, well, we suspected we'd have a bit of a wait, but we didn't expect 20 or 22 months.
No, you said to me maybe max 2 to 3 months, and finally we wait
Well,
It
you
was
ordered in June
almost
21 and you
2
got it
years.
in March 23.
July 21, yeah.
So July, so whatever number of months that is, whether it's 18 or 20. You told me 20 the other day. I counted it as 18. But I think it's actually 18 months. But some people are going to wait more than 18 months. And we did everything. We were probably the first confirmed Canadian order in Canada for 2023 because I myself with my dealership sales director, we discovered that this order banks had finally opened because they did not open when they were supposed to in Canada, and really there wasn't a date going around, so things were a little more left out to the wild in Canada. But we just kept testing it morning, afternoon, and night, and we discovered, oh, now they're open. And then I told you guys, hey, Canadian order banks are finally open. So people are starting to catch on to the fact that it's a long wait. So people are less inclined to just give out a rebate because we all like to dream of rainbows and unicorns and pots of gold at the end of the rainbow. We're dreamers. We all have a bit of dreamer aspect to us. And unfortunately, this happens. Still getting about 15 phone calls, 15 emails, and about 5 people to 10 people every day essentially, buzzing around the dealership with do you have a Maverick available? And it's like, no, this 2 years ago, we said we wouldn't, it'd be years before we have inventory. And the answer is still, it's going to be years. You need to order these Mavericks, folks. But people like to dream in color. So what happens? They go, oh, well, I'll just shop around. Well, what are you going to find that isn't an order? It's vehicles that are not as desired because either the price is too high, the price is high, out of range for a bigger segment of the population, or there's known reliability issues, or it's, kind of ugly. If they bring back the PT Cruiser and they try to sell, they produce 400,000 for a year, well, there'll be about 375,000 PT Cruisers sitting on lots waiting and praying that someone comes and buys them, which is one of the episodes. We're going to quickly cover what happens to unsold vehicles in a moment. Why do vehicles go unsold? But right now the Maverick isn't being like a tremendously fast sellout because people like to think that they can just go get a vehicle that's as good off another manufacturer's lot. And you can't. You can go get a Ram because they have almost 110 days of inventory of Ram trucks. You can easily go get a Ram. But why? Because the price is horrible and the reliability isn't that great. So price is horrible. Inflation went up by 21% since 2019. And guess what? A Ram 1500 went up by 43% in price. That's why they have them there, because by increasing the price, they decreased the demand. And since 2022, production has gone up. So they end up with a lot of available Rams. They're less desired because of price. And we all know that Ram transmissions and differentials can cause you no problems for 380,000 kilometers, or you can go through, 3 or 4 repairs on either a combination of the differential and the transmission.